Hey, mate, you all right?
How's it going, dude?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad.
Oh, mate, I am underdressed.
Yeah, I told you I was going to wear a suit. Let
Yeah.
me just get the volume sorted on here because it's dead
Okay.
quiet. Oh, I'm doing it the wrong way. There we go.
Is it me? Like, can you hear
Oh,
me?
it's me. It's
Okay.
me. It's a new laptop, and I've not had to do a Zoom thing for since I've had it. So you're looking good, mate.
Thanks, mate. It's in the length on this beard here.
Yeah, it's coming on nicely, isn't it?
Yeah.
A winter coat.
Yeah, yeah. So JD, this is the one. Like, this is the one that they've all been waiting for. North meets South.
Oh God, you're not a southerner now, are you?
No. Am I?
Nah, nah.
No, I don't think
Although
so.
you used to, you've always been an international man of mystery, haven't you? So
That's
just
true.
about as settled as you've been. So maybe you are a southerner at heart.
Maybe now. I mean, I was born in the south of Ireland. Yeah. So maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess from conception, conception, uh,
Conception.
conception, inception, from, what would you call it? Like, release into the world, through the portal. Yeah, I was born a southerner. Um,
Yeah.
and here I am, a southerner again. So, yeah, JD, let's hear a little bit about you then. Um,
I don't.
who?
What do you want to know?
Well, who?
I'm a
Who?
loner. I'm a rebel without a cause.
Yeah.
No, I'm a single dad of two.
Yeah.
They're my raison d'etre, as the French so eloquently put. Um, so yeah, working self-employed as a surveyor,
Yeah.
just kind of getting on with things. Really, I'm a bit. I think a bit too much about things.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
think we're going to cover some of those things in this conversation.
Oh, please don't. I was thinking of I've got a bottle of wine in the back. Shall I have a glass of wine before I
Yeah. You
start?
know what? You
No.
know what? Like,
Uh,
I'm here. I'm here right with you, bro.
oh, very good, very
Yeah.
good. What have you
Yeah.
got there? What are you drinking?
I've got a red wine.
What? Just generic red wine.
No,
What kind?
it's an award-winning wine, a gold and silver medal winner, in some sort of wine award,
Oh,
specially chosen by Mr. Lathwaite and sent to me himself. It's part of the Christmas collection. So, yeah, it's delicious, fruity, rich.
I'm onto the barefoot
Okay,
Cabernet Sauvignon.
you peasant.
Honestly, it's a name brand, but it's the
Yeah.
best. It's one of the best I've ever had. That don't be a wine snob.
No, I'm
You're
not.
good in that one.
No, definitely
Yeah,
not. Yeah, no, I like all wine. Yeah, especially wine brought by women.
yeah. It should be.
Yeah, we love the we love sharp, don't we? And sharp
Oh yeah,
quotes, and
yeah.
yeah, the famous one. We'll not say it, but basically, there's a guy who he demands more wine from a waitress,
Yeah, yeah.
in a very what kind of way? How
Un-PC. Well, it was
un-PC?
of the times, wasn't it? It was of the times.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I've
When
got a signed photo. I've got a signed photo from that actor in the lounge.
have you?
Actually. Yeah. He got my brother got me he got the actor to send me a video message. You know, you can contact celebrities and they send you like video messages and stuff. So he got me on, and he did that whole speech in the tavern, like to me, and then sent me a
Oh,
signed photo and stuff. So I've got
nice.
it framed in the lounge. But
So do you need to go and get a drink of wine? Like, you can.
no, I've got a brew instead. I was sensible.
Okay.
I've got a big brew, proper brew. If you're gonna have a brew, make sure it's
Make sure it's
fine
big.
size. Yeah.
It's got to be big, hasn't it?
Yeah. I thought if I have wine, I'm just gonna end up rambling on.
So how's your day been today? You been busy?
Yeah, reasonable, not too bad. I've just about got back in time to do this, and it's pitch black outside.
Yeah.
Winter's well and truly Well, it's here, isn't it?
Does it? Does it make your does it make your job difficult, like the winter? Like, because if you're a surveyor, are you relying
Yeah,
on?
well, all the stuff I do is insurance stuff, so this is going to bore everybody. But yeah, so it's weather dependent. So as it gets into the winter, it gets busier when the bad weather comes. In the summer, it's quieter. So you got to take the work when it comes, and then you got a bit of time off then over the summer if you want to. But being self-employed, I can just have as much work as hard as I want or as little as I want. So it's pretty good, really. But I was forced into it because I was made redundant. So I thought, sack it off, I'll just become self-employed. And it's the best thing that's ever happened, really, because I can just manage everything. I've got time to get back and look after the kids and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, there's no pressure there.
And how long have you been self-employed for now?
5.5 years.
Yeah. You recommend it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's comes a bit tricky when you're trying to get a mortgage or anything like that, but
yeah,
generally, if you can, it is worth it.
I think there's you know, there's some people who they work better, don't they, under their own steam without without a boss above them.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I'm pretty motivated in myself. I'm not one of these people like where my whole life revolves around my work.
Yeah.
By any stretch of the imagination, it's just a job. But anything I do, I try and do well and do it properly. So if you've got that mentality, you're going to be all right if you're self-employed. If generally you'd prefer to be sat on your ass all day doing now, then you might struggle. You might struggle because it's good. You know, I don't need anybody to kind of be on my back.
Yeah.
Telling me, oh, you've got to do this, you've got to do that by a certain time, because I'd be doing that anyway because I can manage my own time. But equally, it gives me the opportunity to just step back. You know, when work gets really busy and I'm stressed out, you can just say, right, I'm having a day off, and just have a day off. You don't need to get permission. You don't need to get permission to have a day off. Yeah,
that's really good. And do you set your own schedule as well, so you can fit things in, like going to the gym?
Well, I haven't been to the gym in quite a while, but
hey, don't say that. Come on now.
Yeah, I haven't. I literally quit before all the COVID stuff started, and not been back because that kind of kicked into touch. But yeah, I do have time to, you know, just to do that. Like if I need to do some Christmas shopping or whatever, I think I'll have to go on Wednesday or whatever, and I'll just book my visits around Wednesday and try and keep Wednesday free.
Yeah.
You know, so. Yeah, but equally, you know, when it gets really busy and all the jobs are coming in and stuff, I get paid for every job I do, so it doesn't make sense to turn jobs away. So you do have to take them when they come, but you do have flexibility if you need to just pack it, you know, just to have a day off or whatever.
You know, the people who might be watching this, they don't know, you know, our relationship at all. Most of the people who come on here and, you know, we have a conversation, the majority of them, I've literally just met then. Like that is the first time that I've ever met them. So the connection is like instant and we hit it off and, you know, then we go with it. But for you and I, we've known each other for a little bit, haven't we?
Just a bit, yeah, just a while, yeah. Yeah, we've seen each other in some interesting situations and over the years. It's been like, well, I was probably 17, 18 when I met you. You're a year younger than me, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So yeah,
so I think I would be 17, 18. Maybe you were 18 and I was 17 when we met.
Yeah, some probably like 22 years.
Yeah, quite some time. We had a few adventures in that time as well. So you know, I'm thinking back on some of those times, and you know, if we're taking them in chronological order, there's a wonderful little town that I mentioned in my previous podcast with Leslie Anderson. I was talking about the Waterfoot Caves. Did you ever venture into these caves with Mills?
That's literally round the corner from where I live, but I've never heard of that in my life.
You've never been there, no?
No.
Have you heard the stories though that No. So so me and Andy and a couple of other guys, I think Ben and maybe Ben, I think there was about 5 of us one night. Andy's like, oh, there's these caves, like we'll go check them out, and it's behind the old Scouts home, or what used to be the old Scouts home, just down the road from his. And we climbed up the area, sneak in, go into these caves, and I think it's like an old copper mine or old tin mine or something like that. And the plan was that we'll go in, get hammered, have quite a few beers, pitch a tent in the middle, have a campfire, and spend the night there.
Get pissed in the cave is a good idea, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely,
what could go wrong?
So we do that, and we have a few beers, and we're having a bit of a laugh. We make our way in, but on the way in, I think Ben was one of the first people to go venturing in, and he took a ball of wool with him. Like the story of the labyrinth. So
Hansel and Gretel, like.
Yeah. So he left one bit by the entrance tied to a stone, and he like unwound it, into the center of the cave so he could find his way out again. And when we got there, some of the cave at some parts had caved in on top of the string. So we were like, oh, okay, I'm sure it's fine. Never mind. The bravery of youth. Some people might call it stupidity.
Ignorant.
Ignorant children, drunken fools. So we go into the cave, and we're having a few beers, listening to some music or whatever, and we think, right, we'll settle down for the night, get into the tents because it's a bit damp in there, a little bit dusty. So get in the tents, and there's this drip, 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 like it's hitting the roof of the tent. And I remember saying to Andy, I was like, you sure about this? Like, you sure this is safe? And Mills like, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it. About 5 minutes later, I said, or someone said, like, with every drip, there's a little bit of dirt coming down with it. A little bit of silt or something is going to come down with it. And then we all started to freak out. There was like a mass panic in the cave. We packed up the tents really, really quickly, and we just dashed out of there and went back to his instead.
I've never heard of that. The caves over there.
Yeah,
I've heard of like old stories of like UFOs and stuff over in Todmorden Bacup there. Yeah,
there was actually. Funny story. I contacted the police officer who is the main witness of that UFO. I contacted him about 6 months ago. I reached out to him and I said, "Oh, would you like to come onto the podcast?" Because I found out about it. I read about it. I thought, well, I'm familiar with that area. It'd be good to have a conversation with this guy. And he said that, oh, thank you so much for the invite. I'd love to come on, but I'm under a contract with a production company, and they're making a film of his experience checking out these UFOs in Todmorden. So apparently, I think this policeman, I think he went missing for some time. I think he was abducted, or he saw them, or something like that. Yeah.
It's there's been a few stories. There's another story, like an old story, and I heard this one on a podcast on one called Bedtime Stories, and it was talking about this guy. I think I'm not sure if it's Todmorden or Bacup or somewhere, and there was a mine and like a slag pile, a massive big pile of rubbish. And this is going back a bit, so it's got to be before this guy's experience. And this guy was walking home from pub one night, and he went missing for like a couple of days or something. Yeah. And then his dead body just turned up on top of this slag pile.
Yeah. So
and there was no footprints or anything up the slag pile.
So so what happened was the copper who was investigating that, he got kidnapped. That's the guy I spoke to.
Right.
Yeah, it's linked because it's from the 70s. It's in the same. I remember that part of the story. So it was one of the coppers who was there to check out that slag pile. It was like later that night or a couple of nights later, he got taken. Yeah. There was no evidence, was there? Like nothing around on that side.
No, it's just, and he just, I think he'd just gone missing for a while as well. It wasn't like he was walking on pissed and he was found the next morning on top of this pile. Yeah. He'd gone missing and he appeared sometime later, but weird stuff happens, doesn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, when I was at school up in that area, there was a couple of lads in my year were from Todmorden, and they always said that there was a military installation inside the hills around there.
Yeah.
Maybe this guy just like walked in the wrong place, you know.
But they do use it on the hill in between Todmorden and Bacup. They use that hill for what do they call it? You know, like space.
Like parasailing, or not parasailing, abseiling?
Looking at stars and planets and stuff like that. Because there's been previous activity and stuff, so they do use those hills for that, or they have done in the past. Whether they do now or not, I don't know. But creepy. I'm always fascinated by all that and like the folklore stuff and things like, you know, about like elves and dwarves and, you know, these old myths and like Bigfoot and werewolves and all that. I'm always fascinated about like the real life stories that people come out with.
Like where those stories come from, and you know, whether they're accurate or true, whether there's any truth.
And the way that they like these stories go back in history to like, you know, well before history even, and they pass down through generations. Like the Native Americans have them, and you know, ancient Chinese cultures and South American cultures all have very, very similar stories about very similar experiences, and we pass down, and you think, oh, it's a coincidence. But whether or not it's real or not or whatever, it doesn't really bother me. It's more just interesting stories, you know, and just gets you thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah, like do you know the story of Barney and Betty Hill in America, interracial couple from the 60s? So they were, I think they were driving back from a party or from a relative's house, and they were on their way home, and it was at night, and they were allegedly kidnapped and taken by a UFO. And
I do know it. Yeah, I have heard of that. Yeah, there's quite a few. Is that the one where they were driving and the kind of car stopped and then lost time and all that?
They lost like 3 days or something crazy. They had no idea, no recollection of anything, and then Barney
just got pissed, didn't they? Just got pissed and went out to the pub. I went, honestly, I have no idea what happened with those 3 days.
No
went
idea.
To Vegas.
Yeah. There was there's some rumors that maybe they got caught by some hillbillies, you know, and you know, out in the woods.
You'd want to forget that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Those trauma, suppressing the trauma of what happened to you,
linking it to something extraterrestrial, just so it's you know.
Yeah, my ass is bleeding. 3 days, I'm sure it was Wednesday when we came down here. It must have been aliens,
So you went to Manchester Uni, right?
Yeah.
Which uni did you go to? Because there's a few.
The University of Manchester, yeah. Because there's a few in there. There's like UMist and Manchester Met.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the University of that I went to many moons ago.
And we had one, maybe 2 nights out at Manchester Uni, didn't we? We had about 100 probably.
I had many more than that. But with you, that was well in your kind of international man of mystery period where you just rock up at some point and you were like, where are you at the minute? And you're living in somewhere different. Like, oh, I'm in Dublin. Oh, I'm living in Blackpool. Oh, I'm living. You just be drifting around. You just turn up. But yeah, we had a few. I can't remember how many when you were there. But it's a good night out. Is Manchester, although it changes like most cities these days. It's just I went in. The last time I went in was about a month ago, and I hadn't been in for about 6 months or so, and it's completely different every time you go in, and it's all glass and concrete, and it's terrible. I think they're just trying to kind of, they have this idea, these planners, of what a modern city looks like, and just model it. And so you can't tell Manchester from London, from Birmingham, from towns like Bury and or from
Dubai, like, you know, they're all made out of glass.
It's all just concrete, glass, and there's just no character. So when you see these other cities and towns in other areas like Florence and, you know,
Venice,
Naples,
and
all these places in Europe where it's like the old buildings. You know,
Paris or Berlin, you know.
Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, there are still a lot of buildings like that in Manchester, but they just look punctuations in this big sprawl of glass and concrete, and it's just hate it. Not good for the soul, that stuff. Really.
No, you heard it here first. Glass, not good for the soul.
Yeah, it isn't. It isn't. People like wandering around in the cities going, why do I feel depressed? It's like, just take a look around. That's why you feel depressed.
Horrible concrete jungle.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time I was in Manchester, like, I've always gone to Manchester ever since I moved to England, and it would be one of the places that I would go to on a weekend. Go to HMV, go grab a hot dog somewhere, you know, go do some shopping, take in the atmosphere. And the last time I went, I was in a Starbucks or a Costa coffee, something like that, and I was sat there, and this guy, homeless guy or a crackhead or something, came in, pretended to be in the queue, and just walked over to the counter where the drinks and sandwiches are, and he just helped himself and then walked out. So I was like, okay, that was weird. So I noticed him straight away, because I was like, he's not, you just know, you get a vibe like from some people. I was like, he's up to no good, this fella. And at first I thought he was going to snatch the guy's mobile phone who was stood in front of him, some like Chinese or Asian young lad, and he didn't. So I told the guy behind the counter, I was like, hey, that guy's just nicked off with some food and some drink. And he went, yeah, it happens every day, mate. You can't do anything about it. And I was like, what? Are you for real? And then as I walked around Manchester, I just noticed in almost every single doorway, there was a tent or a cardboard box. There was somebody in there. There was many people in different doorways. And the amount of people who were either on drugs or alcohol or homeless, God bless them, was something like I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
And I was like, how has this happened? Where have all these people come from?
Yeah, it's got a lot worse recently. Like I say, I don't really go into Manchester too much, but there's always been homeless people knocking about. But certainly, like the last time I went in, there was a lot more there than there was out there. But it reminded me when you said about that guy nicking the stuff from the shop. It reminds me of when I was at uni. I was going into Greg's bakery, and I walked in, and I was queuing up to go in, and a lad, I think he was a student, he didn't look like a homeless person, and he went in and pinched like a sandwich or something in the Greg's and darted out. But what I didn't realise was it was quite common in that area, outside the student area, for there to be like mounted police like now and again knocking about. And there was one right outside the Greg's, and he obviously hadn't seen it. It was brilliant. He pinched his sandwich, legged it, and the guy from Greg's ran out and went, oi, oi, and this mounted police saw him and just started galloping down the pavement. It was epic. Caught him. Like, well, I've never seen a police horse go charging after a guy down the street. But it was. I remember that was epic, and that was right at uni where when you were talking about
in the halls of residence where
and my flat was like directly above the Greg's.
And
classic
there was in that common area. I distinctly remember there was a hole in the wall. How did that get there?
There were many holes in the wall. There were a few. One was mostly Bennett, to be fair, who did that. Like, one was a chair that got thrown.
I was there that night.
I think the chair leg went through the door.
I was there that night when that got thrown. I think that was Ben who threw it. Did he throw it at me? I can't remember, but
I can't remember.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then there was, I think Millsy took a vodka. I think it was a vodka bottle went through one of the walls.
Yeah.
At one point. Yeah, there's a fair few.
I wonder why.
I wonder
why students get such a hard time and have this bad reputation.
I know, weird. But we were no good at DIY. But when it came to the end of the term, we just decided to get. It was brilliant because you couldn't tell. Masking tape over the hole and just paint over the masking tape, and they came around and did the inspection. Like, yeah, everything's fine, everything's fine. And and we got away with it. Even the door, it got right through the door. We just put masking tape and painted it both sides, and they didn't even tell. But all the things you do when I'm much more responsible than that now.
Yeah, well, we are talking, over 20 years ago. We're men now. We were boys then, so anything that we say, people are allowed to change and make mistakes, and go through different experiences and learn from those lessons. So speaking of that, between your second and third year, is that when you came to Ireland?
Yeah, that was when I came over to Dublin with you guys and spent all of my overdraft.
So what was the story there? I was already there, wasn't I?
Yeah. So it was a bit random, really. I was at uni and I remember there was a girl messaged me on my phone. I just got a text message. Do you remember? It was like a flirty text message. I was like, who the hell's this? And she said, oh, she got my number from you. I'm like, who the hell is this person? And it was someone you knew over in Dublin. Yeah. And she'd messaged and she was like, oh, come over. So it was like that summer. I was like, all right, I'll go over. Jumped on the ferry.
There was no distance that we wouldn't travel for a nice looking girl.
Yeah. And,
we'd even change countries.
Yeah. Jumped on ferry and came over and just decided we pretty much just got drunk all the time, didn't we? I remember we were sat in your flat.
Yeah.
Looking at the clock, because what was the pact? We made a pact, didn't we?
Yeah, we made a deal because I had a full-time job. I was working in Boots. So we made a deal that there was no drinking allowed by you and Millsy. I think the pact was more for him, really.
Yeah, I think it was before 5 or 6 at night, wasn't it?
No drinking before 5.
So basically we just sat there like that.
Clock watching, playing cards, scratching your ass.
Yeah. And I remember you jumping off doing the cliff diving that time when the sea was really choppy. Yeah, and you cut your leg and stuff, didn't you? But you're absolutely mental jumping off that into that sea. That was
pretty high.
It was high, but the waves were just
Yeah.
Absolutely bashing in the rocks. It was.
Yeah, it was the Irish Sea. I can't. Well, was it summer or it would have been summer when you came over, wasn't it? Or
yeah. It was in summer. Yeah, but I wouldn't have done that. Not in a million years. I'd have done it in a calm weather, but.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, we were there and we were surrounded by, good-looking Irish women, and when things needed to be done to, to try and impress those ladies, that's what you do. Like you jump off a 20, 30-foot cliff into the Irish Ocean.
Yeah, I know.
To be fair, it worked. Like it did work. So
yeah. Yeah, no, I wasn't about to do that. I was always pretty sensible when I was, well, most of the time, pretty sensible when I was younger. But I think I've probably done more crazy stuff since I've been an adult than I did when I was a kid. But I've done that with I assess the pros and cons and kind of weigh it up. But when you're younger, you're just so naive.
Yeah, you just do it, don't you? So like how I ended up in Ireland was I was from there originally, and I'd lived in England since I was 11, and then I made contact with my older sister, and my granddad was still alive at that time, and I had no money, and I was kind of couch surfing, I guess, in dodgy places, no real fixed abode or anything, and I was trying to work, and I was trying to do door-to-door sales, and I just went from one bad company to the next, working on commission, and I didn't have anything or anyone like to look out for me when I was like so I kind of when I made that contact, my mum got in touch with me after like an 8-year gap, and said, oh, your sister's having a christening, do you want to come over to Ireland, pay for the ticket? And I said yeah. I was like, that's great for me, get out of this situation. So yeah, one of the guy that I was working for, he gave me 20 quid, and he was like, here you go, have a good time. So I went over, and then my mum asked me to stay. And then I was like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll do that. You know, I'll start fresh here. So I got a job in McDonald's. It was kind of like, you know, it was just the quickest thing that I could get at the time. And that's when I was working there and made friends with people. And then that's when I met Elena,
Yeah.
the Italian girl. And you know, I worked there for a little bit, a couple of weeks, and then my mum changed her mind out of the blue and tried to hand me a load of cash and said, you know, go back to England. And I was upset by that, and I said no. And that's when I moved out and got my own place. And then after a couple of months of living in a house share with there were 3 lovely Chinese people and one like 50-year-old bloke.
Standard.
I was living in this house share, and you know, I was fascinated and learning more about their culture, and they were so nice. They were like PhD students at Trinity College, Dublin, or you know, one of those colleges around there. And I had like a tiny box bedroom, no curtains, no carpet, no nothing, just a bed, and that was it in this room. So I managed to get a bit of money together for some soft furnishings, and I survived mostly by stealing rice from those people. This because I was so poor. Yeah. So like they would have the rice cooker going, you know, all day, and when they were out, like I had no food. I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. I was like, man, that rice smells good. So like,
Did you ever put like a stock cube in? I used to do that when I was at uni. If I just had no money at uni, I'd always have rice.
Yeah.
Just crumble like a chicken stock or a bit.
Yeah.
Feeling like adventurous, a beef stock cube.
I do that now, but at that time, I didn't want to tamper with their food, but I was nicking like just the odd tablespoonful just to keep me going, because when I worked at Mackie D's, you got 1 free meal a day. So I was having that one free meal a day, and then using the rest of my money for my rent because it was so expensive. So I was just a pauper when I was just street trash, like ready to be out on the street. And then Elena said that her friend, a Spanish guy, lives in the city, had a spare room. So I was like, cool, yeah, let's go check it out. I think it was cheaper. It was like better location. There was more jobs in the city. So I changed jobs after a while to Boots, and I moved into that apartment on Summer Hill. And that's when you guys came over, wasn't it, into that house share? So what happened was there was a French guy, like he was called I don't know, he was just a French guy. I can't remember his name. Jean something, and I think he was a teacher or a trainee teacher, and he was off like teaching French in the countryside, but he had this apartment in the city. And there was a Spanish guy. There was 2 Spanish guys. There was Bob, whose real name was Habib.
Yeah, Bob was saying, I liked it.
And there was another guy, and Bob wasn't meant to be there. And the original guy, he broke his leg, didn't he? And he broke his leg playing basketball, and he went back to Spain. So there was a shared bedroom. You know, there was plenty of rooms, plenty of bed. There was Bob, you know, no big deal. So I was like, brilliant. Come on over, guys. So then you and Andy came over, didn't you, on the ferry?
Yeah.
And that's what we call the summer of love.
Yeah. I think Andy was there for longer than I was.
Yeah.
But I remember I went back. I planned to go for like a couple of weeks or something, and then I headed back. You know, on the ferry again. Got the train back from Holyhead in Wales back up to Manchester. Got home literally within about an hour. I was like, I want to go back. So I went down and told my mum and dad. I said, I think I'm going to go back. And they're like, all right. And I literally I think it was the next morning.
Yeah.
I got back on the train and came back and did the journey again. I was back for like a day. But
I remember.
Crack. But I remember being in there because we were like in proper, like, deepest, darkest Dublin, weren't we? It wasn't middle class by any stretch of the imagination where we were. And I remember us singing "God Save the Queen" with the windows open, and do you remember all those lads, those local chavs come round and threaten to shoot us and stuff?
And there was, the landlord really liked us, didn't he? But he kept coming round and going, right, come on, lads, like you're gonna get. You need
I slept in a staircase once because your flatmate who wasn't there came back home.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Kicked us out.
Yeah.
And I ended up sleeping in a staircase. Well, I was 20 years old at that point. Sleeping in a staircase.
But by the time he came back, when he did come back, it was just inconvenient that it happened to be a weekend and there was probably about 10 of us in the flat. Like there was loads, wasn't it? We were a bit naughty, but we weren't doing anything wrong. We were just, we had friends over. This guy who was playing guitar. We had a couple of girls over. We were just hanging out, having a few drinks, having a bit of food. But he was really angry, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I remember I had to leave really quickly after that. So we spoke to the landlord and, he said, this guy's giving us a hard time. And he's like, well, yeah, he is on the lease. I said, can you help me? And he said, yeah, I've got this other place. So he showed us the place on, I think it's like Richmond Street or something like that. And I think it wasn't long after that you left, wasn't it? But Andy stuck around again, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because he was seeing someone at the time, wasn't he? And,
a girl called Christmas. Yeah. So so that's when Elena and I moved in together in Dublin there, and we were both working, and crazy times. It was good, like exploring the city, walking around, meeting people, chatting rubbish all day, drinking coffee, and just
because you always knew it wasn't. Well, I don't know about you, but I always knew it wasn't. It was a temporary thing. Like your future's ahead of you. That is.
Yeah, definitely.
Like when you're like 19, 20, you think, I'm at uni, I'm working through my course, and everything. You've got all these different things to look forward to, like your career or whatever, or getting married or having kids and buying a house and all that kind of stuff. So it was always temporary. I was never worried that it was like, forever. It was just a summer of just dicking about, wasn't it? Remember, it was never as bad as when you were in Padiham, that place in Padiham. That was a bit dark and.
Yeah, that was pretty dank. I mean, I ended up in that place because of my dad, really. So
that was a lot.
Yeah, that was a really bad flat in Padiham, but we made the most of it, didn't we?
We certainly did, didn't we?
I did a couple of shifts for my dad up at the pub, and I think you were at my flat, weren't you? And I met these two 30-year-olds, like mid-30s. I mean, they were old to us. Like
they were older than that, mate.
Were they?
I was made 2021. And we went out into a pub and you were like on the pull or whatever. And did you come back? You came back with
these two old ladies.
These two. I don't know what you would call them. But
I don't think they were that old. I think it was just that we were young.
Yeah, I didn't want anything to do with that whatsoever. You were like, oh, why not? And I'm like, seriously. But, yeah. But I'm glad to see you're settled down and married and you got your kids now, because you could have gone really wrong there.
Well, I'm 40 next Wednesday. It's
is it? Is it Wednesday?
Yeah. And I was just saying, I don't know how I've made it. Like, I don't know how I've managed it, because there's...
Yeah, no, you've done well, to stabilize from all the shit that you've, and the unstable life that you had. I mean, I didn't know you as a kid, but I've known you all your adult life.
Yeah.
And to get, where you are now and get happy and settled and all that kind of stuff, you've done well, because a lot of people start off with a lot more and end up with a lot less,
Yeah.
And you started off, with very little and managed to, because we've always been good with people, meeting people and, and all that kind of stuff. You've always been a social butterfly. So you've been able to move, when things were a bit crappy, in one situation, you'd move and you'd be able to just literally start fresh somewhere else pretty easy. And then, so I always admired you for that, for being able to do that. It's not something that I'd be able to do. I've always been lucky because my parents have always been, the constant, classic situation. They've been married for whatever 40 years or something, or more actually. I think it's maybe even 45 now. And they've just always been there and lived relatively close to them and stuff, and always supported me and things. So it's difficult when you haven't got that, and you're kind of on your own and kind of having to forge your own way.
Yeah, and trying to figure things out. Like you said just before that, for you knew that it was temporary. It was a summer. I kind of I knew at that time whatever situation I was in was temporary, and that there would always be tomorrow, and I'd always be able to try and figure it out. And that was mostly because I had friends like you and friends like Andy. I knew that, even though I may have been alone and I may have been doing different things, I could always rely on you guys. So thanks for that.
So
that was a big help. To just, even if it was just coming around and hanging out and having a drink, or whatever it was, you guys were always there. So, and you still are. So.
I mean, you can go periods, can't it, for several weeks or without speaking, but you always know that when we do speak and get together or whatever, it's just like we've not been away in it. So that, and we always look out for each other, don't we? So
so when after Ireland, that was a pretty crazy time. And then I left there and came back here and brought a Latvian beauty with me. And,
you did, didn't you?
Yeah. I found a gorgeous girl from Latvia that Millsy's dad became infatuated with. I brought her around to meet the family Mills, and Andy reported back that he was like, "My dad has not stopped talking about your bird." He was like, she caught his eye, which is hilarious. And so that was all pretty. It was all pretty good, and I was running a pub for a bit for my dad. We had. Did you ever come to that pub on the top of the hill in Burnley, the Hare and Hounds?
Yeah, once. It's gone now.
That pub's gone now, is it?
Yeah, it was demolished. I think it was burned down a few years back.
Oh no, that's the Bull and Butcher.
Yeah.
That was the first one. That was the Bull and Butcher. Yeah, that's been gone for ages.
Yeah. So, I don't know any other one.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Well, definitely Ben and Mills came over. And I'm pretty sure we emptied a keg. We emptied a keg of Carling, and not only that, one of us, maybe me, I don't remember, fell asleep on the pool table. Woke up the next day, and cleaning up. The head chef came in, and he was. I was running the place, and he said to me, "Where's all my steaks gone? Where's all the? Hang on a minute. Where's all the sausages and where's all the black pudding?" And I was. we got really, really drunk, and then we got the hunger on. And I went into the kitchen, and we cooked everything we could find, and we just ate everything without thinking about it, without realizing. And then that was the food for the next day for the restaurant. So he had to change his menu. He was fuming.
Beans on toast.
Yeah, he was fuming. But yeah, that was good. And then that lasted a little bit, and then. Me and that girl and I went to Latvia for a few weeks, and then back to Ireland. And I went back there for about a year, and then 2003 I headed to Blackpool.
Oh
yeah.
Towards jumps.
Well, I knew a girl from there, and that's how I ended up there. I didn't want to go back to like Burnley or Padiham or any of those areas. I wanted to try something new, and I like the sea, and I thought maybe I could start fresh there. And so I lived with that girl in a house share for a couple of weeks, and then I got my own place. I got this little flat on York Street, 37 York Street, flat number 5. And it was, do you remember it? It was just a tiny little L shape. Do you remember trying to sleep on the floor? And it was like the corrugated.
Was that the one I said? Because I went to see you once there.
And we went and did karaoke, didn't we? Do you remember during the daytime?
I slept on the floor. Yeah. Because I drove over in Mum's car, and we just got pissed in the afternoon doing karaoke. It's the only place probably in the country where you can go and get pissed and do karaoke at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we were doing that, and then I obviously I couldn't drive back. I wasn't planning to drink, and so I ended up staying at yours, and it was just like a tiny bed sit, wasn't it? It was tiny.
Yeah, it was. It was 45 quid a week. It was.
Yeah, and I went in, and you didn't have a spare bed, or there was no room for
just a single bed. Like, it was just a tiny L-shaped place.
I don't know how long you'd not vacuumed the place for, but it was that rock hard wearing carpet that you get in flats.
I didn't own a vacuum.
I slept on the floor in my clothes without a pillow or a cushion or anything, just on this rock hard floor in between the toilet and the kitchen sink, because that was pretty much the only room you had. Woke up in the morning with crumbs and all sorts of crap on my face. And I had to drive home. Yeah, I had to drive home. Oh, God. Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, didn't we picked up a couple of girls that time, did we? Or was it there was like a strange girl that I met on the beach earlier in that day, and she brought her mum with her, didn't she? And her mum was like really old and a bit odd, and they didn't stick around very long, did they? I remember that.
No.
I think we were too rowdy for them.
Yeah. We bumped into a couple doing the karaoke, a couple of people doing the karaoke as well, I think. All blurs into one now, doesn't it? But,
I think that was because of your voice. So I was telling Chloe Rose, who was on one of the recent podcasts. She's a singer, and I was telling her about you and about your voice, and
it's not.
It is. And I was thinking, maybe you could do a duet. She was down for it.
It depends what it is. I'm not like I'm not that good.
Who is it that you sing mostly? Is it Neil Diamond?
Oh, I sing loads of stuff. I can do Neil Diamond and stuff, but I think I'm a bit of like a bass baritone, so anything in that range.
You fancy bashing one out for us now?
No. No, like seriously.
Maybe
I don't mind singing. I don't mind singing, but I'm not gonna do anything a cappella right now in the dining room. I've got my piano here though, by the way, which I'm not.
Can you play?
No, I'm trying, but it's taking a very long period of time. I think once your brain gets to my age, it's just kind of all full up, and I lose stuff faster than I'm learning it. But
do you know what? Do you know what I read recently? This is going to sound really weird, but the brain only is pretty much like a goldfish, only confined to the skull. So if you can extend your skull, the brain will grow, and then you can add new memories to it.
Maybe that's why those ancient civilizations did the whole skull thing.
Yeah, they extended the skull, didn't they? Like right out the back.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know.
Interesting. Yeah, with the head wrapping.
Yeah. But I ain't singing. I'm not singing with no music. I don't even know.
There's if there was any ladies watching, that would be it. You'd be inundated, wouldn't you?
I don't think so.
So where were we then? We're in Blackpool, and then did you ever make it down to Loughborough?
Once went camping in Loughborough at I don't think you were there though. And were you there? I don't know. I remember being stuck in the tent trying, and I couldn't sit because I was in the tent.
There was one time I did go camping in the forest in Loughborough, and I got bad hypothermia. I left early in the morning, and I was really ill, and I got Louise to come and pick me up from the edge of the forest. And this is before like Google Maps really and all that sort of stuff. So I just kept walking until I found a road, and then gave her the road name, and she drove from Loughborough to wherever we were to come pick me up. But I remember Millsy was fuming with me because I didn't help pack up, but I was dying. Like I had hypothermia. I was. Yeah.
I remember being in Mills's tent, and he specifically said, do not throw up in the tent. This is like an expensive tent. Do not do it. And I went in, and I was in the tent with someone else. I can't remember who was with, one of our other mates. And I really need to be sick, and I couldn't find the zip, and it was a nightmare. It was literally like a nightmare. I was clawing at the tent, pitch black. I couldn't find the zip, and it must have been about 20 minutes of me holding this vomit in my throat and my mouth.
Oh my God.
And then Millsy had been out chopping wood somewhere, he'd come back, unzipped it, and I just popped my head out and just all over the place. But I didn't throw up in his tent, so he was pleased with that.
A man of honor. A man of honor.
It was horrific though. Like I felt like it wasn't just the fact I needed to be sick. I just couldn't. I was so drunk, I couldn't find how to get out of the tent. So it was like a nightmare. It was like being buried alive. It was horrible.
There's nothing worse than that. Like when I was a kid, I went and stayed at my auntie's house, and my auntie, my mum's sister, and I think there was me and my younger brother and my cousin Jade. We're all in a room, and this was like a Saturday morning, and it was absolutely boiling in there, and they'd locked us in this room, and we were crying and hollering and knocking on for what felt like forever, and I thought I was gonna die like at like a super young age, and it was so hot, and I was like, let me out. Eventually got out, but like that stuck with me,
It's horrible if you feel trapped in something like that. It's
especially a relationship, eh? Feeling trapped is horrible. Luckily I never been in trouble with the police, so I've never really been confined to any small spaces or anything. Which is good. So so I remember one time in Loughborough I went down, and I think it was the first time I went down, and I met Gaz, and I was in the what they call it, the halt or the halls where Millsy was, and it was like basically this prefab shed that they put some students in, and we were drinking Baileys and vodka mixed with milk. That's not a good idea.
No.
So we were drinking pints of it.
Oh God.
And we were also heading down the town as well afterwards. And I remember being very drunk, and we just got outside the campus boundaries, and we were on the corner of the street, and I just went, whoa! It was like something from Team America. It was like, and this was just like all over the floor. And Millsy told me that like that stain was there for like another year, like after that incident. Like there was no getting rid of it. Like the rain couldn't get rid of it. He was like, dude, you melted the concrete. He was like, it's just
maybe they had to like cut out the concrete and replace it.
Yeah.
Pencil or whatever. Later down the line.
I remember that there was another time that I went down there, and that's when I met Rick Jones. Do you remember Rick Jones?
Yeah, the name rings a bell.
Yeah, I don't think you liked him, did you?
Is that the guy? Is that the guy you got punched in Canal Street?
Probably. Yeah, that sounds familiar. So yeah, it was the first time I met Rick Jones, and Rick had a roommate called Will, and I don't know why or how, but at that point, I had a decent head of hair, and we were all drinking, and then they were like, "Yeah, let's shave someone's head." So I was like, "Yeah, whatever, I'll do it." And so they started to shave my head, and then they whipped out a Mac 3 razor, and they were pretty new at that time. They foamed me up, and they Mac 3'd all of the hair off my head, and then we went downtown, and all the doormen were like, not too sure. Like I looked too, I don't know, like I looked too rowdy, or that's my look now, bald guy. But
I think the beard finishes it off, though. I think bald without the beard kind of looks a bit X-Files-y.
Yeah, I think I had quite a pointy head as well. That seems to have settled down. So I was looking like Uncle Fester, and when I got back from that particular trip, my hair never really properly grew back again. So that was bad times.
Yeah, mine's going a bit as well now.
No, look at that. Look at that.
It is
ferocious. So, what else are we going to talk about? We've covered a lot of steam, haven't we?
We haven't got annoyed about anything.
Yeah,
I was worried you were going to start asking me very
questions about Jeremy Corbyn.
No, not but, yeah, so that's good because we've been here all night.
So, what's your favorite conspiracy theory?
I suppose it depends what's. I don't know, because obviously you can't. I think someone, if you're the person who says I don't like the term conspiracy theorist, you know, if you believe all conspiracy theories are true, then you're an idiot. If you believe all of them aren't true, you're also an idiot. Some of them are true, some of them aren't. Some of them are proved to be true and admitted to be true. So I don't really follow them. I think one of the obvious ones that was never admitted that I believe is very, very much a conspiracy is the death of Marilyn Monroe. That's almost certainly she was bumped off. But
why though? What did she know? Like, what?
Well, she was having it off with
Kennedy,
JFK, but she was also having it off with Bobby Kennedy as well.
Right. And was she married to a famous baseball player? Joe DiMaggio.
Not at that point, I don't think, but I'm not sure.
Did she marry Joe DiMaggio? Or
I think she was.
So she wasn't with him at that point.
I don't think so.
Right.
I don't know. There's people who probably know more about it than me, but I just know that she died in very, very peculiar circumstances. But like a lot of things.
Would you say that her circumstances are more or less peculiar than Jeffrey Epstein's?
I don't know enough about Jeffrey Epstein, but that's very coincidental as well, isn't it?
Yeah. How a guy can hang himself with just a bed sheet with nothing to suspend himself from. Yeah.
I think so. When things like that happen, there's a decent chance there's more to it. But he might have just killed himself somehow. But I think when you think about the other players in the game, and he could potentially cause a lot of problems if he decides to just tell the truth. There's a lot of people have a lot to lose in that situation. I mean, to believe all conspiracy theory, I think people who say, I'm a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, I think it's a bit. Doesn't make sense.
That's a funny label, isn't it? Conspiracy theorist.
It's an easy label to put on someone when you don't want them to. You want to discredit what they're saying. It's an easy to just call someone a conspiracy theorist. Because the minute you hear that term, you think, "Oh, this guy's a loony."
Possibly similar to calling somebody an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah. It's kind of it's a vulgar way of kind of dismissing a lot of people. Like with the COVID, like people who don't want to get vaccinated and things like that. They're not conspiracy theorists, the vast majority of them. But the minute you say you don't want to get a vaccination, before you can even explain your reasoning for it, it's, oh, you're an anti-vaxxer, or oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, or something like that. And I think any educated person can see that a mile off, and it's obvious. I think it's too easy to call people, just put people into a box and just disregard what they've got to say.
Yeah, that seems to happen a lot nowadays, on both sides. And then, you look at America and you see how polarized everything has become.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been pushed. That's all kind of, no matter what it is that's in the media at any given time, there's an agenda being pushed, whatever it is. And I've learned in the last few years, that whatever you see on the mainstream news, whatever they're telling you, the truth is the opposite or very, very different to what they're saying. So if they're telling you that,
or they just omit it, they fail to report it
to push an agenda because it suits their agenda. And generally, I think I just don't listen to the general mainstream media, because there's always something being pushed. And you don't get a balanced argument anymore.
People think that that's new, and I read that perhaps it's not a new thing, that it's always been that way. It's just that now that there's the internet and people are more interconnected than ever, they're able to say, hey guys, I'm over here with a camera phone and I can see this crowd of like 100,000 people, and then someone else in a different area or different locations able to go, well, why hasn't the news reported on that over there? And so they keep getting caught out now. They can't hide things from the public.
Well, a lot of people, what the governments want is for you to be at home. Their ideal utopia is for every person in the country to be sat at home staring at their TV. That's what they want, because it's easier and they can just filter. And the people at home watching the TV, you would believe what you hear on the news is the truth. It's very, very, very naive. Everything that's going on in the world.
They did.
I was
going to say they realized the power of that, not when TV was invented, but when the radio was invented. Once they could start getting information out to the masses in one go, there was a big push to get radios in cars, and stuff like that. And
the Nazis were brilliant at it. It's propaganda at the end of the day. Once you realize that you can control the minds of the masses through that, it's a massive, powerful tool. You basically, now we're being told what to think, what we can say, what we can't say, what we should think. If you watch the BBC now, there's nothing balanced. It's supposed to be balanced and politically neutral, and it's absolute nonsense. It's a far left. It's a Marxist propaganda machine. That's what it is. You would think watching the BBC.
I haven't watched any BBC news for an incredibly long time.
And it's not just the BBC, but they're the worst for it. Lots of channels are the same. Like it's not uncommon. You will see them slag off, say, Donald Trump all the time, joking about Donald Trump, taking the piss, oh, what a horrible bloke, blah, blah, blah.
But not Biden.
Barack Obama's on, oh, what a hero, what a this and that, the other, because it suits their agenda. They shouldn't be doing it, but they do. And it's the same with, like, Biden comes in, because Donald Trump he wasn't a figurehead for what they wanted to push, this Marxist agenda. Whereas Obama and Biden and all that are just, I mean, at the end of the day, they're all just puppets. You know, they're not in charge of the country in reality.
And you know what's made that more obvious than anything is the physical and mental state and capabilities of Joe Biden. You know, and I think you know, as a compassionate human, you've got to look at that guy and say, you know, he is being played as much as, you know, as anything. You know, there's no way that he's in charge and that he's tweeting
I mean,
all these things. And
some of the things that you've got to think about, the basic things is you always follow the money generally in anything, in governments and everything. And if somebody these days still thinks that the president of the United States is in charge of how that country's run, and the prime minister of Britain is in charge of how this country's run, you're absolutely so naive. It is untrue. The people in charge of the world are these massive multinational corporations, because you just got to ask yourself, how much does it cost to become the president of the USA? How much does it cost? And then ask yourself, where does that money come from? And then ask yourself, well, what do they want in return for that? And it's just common sense. You just follow the money, and you'll see where the agenda is and what the actual true final, you know, goal is. And they, as long as they always want to please their voters and get back into power, so it's keeping the people who give them the money happy. And usually those are big pharmaceutical companies and big tech companies and all these different people who give them the money. I mean, there are a lot of independent people who give them money, but they're just not consequential. Well, these big companies, and then they have to push that agenda in order to keep their support. And it's just, you know, the world, the countries aren't independent anymore. It's all one big global, you know, it's shit pile, basically.
It's almost like a huge game, isn't it? And and you don't, a lot of the time you don't know what to believe or who to believe, and you've just got to try and do your best.
Well, as a grown-up, as a 40-year-old guy, you've got enough life experience and education to make your own mind up. You're pushed by the media and things to think, oh, you have to listen to this expert, that expert. You're led to believe that you're a naive pleb.
When you're not. Like,
you're a naive pleb. Listen to what you're being told, and that's the truth, and go with that. I'm experienced enough. I've got a science degree.
You have to be a critical thinker, don't you?
I know how the world works, and I can make my own mind up. And but you're led to believe that you should listen to whoever's on the television, and it's always some kind of expert in something or other who's talking, and it's like you're no more qualified to comment on how I should live my life, than anybody else. I think people should have more confidence in their own gut feelings and their own instincts about things, instead of trying to listen and follow what they're led to believe.
Like, what do you think the future holds for us, like humans, as a society? With all these lockdowns and having the capability to stay in touch using the internet, you can work online, you can shop online, you can get food online, you can do everything. It's almost like everything is set up in a way so that you never have to leave the house, which then means that there'll be no crime on the streets as long as everybody is on a certain level. Then you can have total compliance then, can't you?
It's just a downward spiral. I genuinely kind of worry about it, just because, I will never I use the technology sometimes. Like, this is the first Zoom thing I've done. I've probably can count on both my hands the amount of Zoom things I've done in my life. Because I just do it when it's necessary, but it's not the same as me chatting to you in a pub or whatever.
And you don't have social media or anything like that. So
no, I haven't done that. But like, it's not a substitute for us meeting. If you weren't 300 miles or whatever you are, 200 miles away from me, I would meet in person. And the humans are animals as much part of nature as the trees and the birds and whatever, and they need those interactions, and it's very, very, very bad for, you know, people wonder why mental health is, you know, such a big issue these days, and it's like,
yeah,
you open your eyes.
All you have to do is look at the habits of the people around you. You know, constantly phones in their faces, in the palms of their hand, fearing and thinking what other people are thinking.
You've got to ask yourself, when you see them like walking around on the street, and they're looking like, and walking across a road like that, just, and you're thinking, who's actually using who's using who in this relationship? You know, when everybody knows that data is the modern oil, isn't it? That's where all the money is, and they're farming you. As you're walking around in the street on your phone like that, you're being farmed basically. It's like the Matrix, but instead of being in a big vat of liquid with things stuck in you, it's just sucking it out of your brain when you're walking like that.
That's all. You know, if you extrapolate where Zuckerberg is going with this Meta, you're going to have an augmented reality and a virtual reality, and, you know, actual reality is going to just be almost like the canvas that everything else is put on. You know, and he wants to build this new digital economy, you know, and everything done online. You can be whoever you want online. You know, there's no race, no gender, no age, no nothing. Like, you can just represent yourself as a machine or a monster or whatever you want to be. And then Elon Musk is making the the Neuralink brain implant chip, so that you can connect straight away to the internet and search for whatever you want. It's not, you know, it doesn't take a big stretch of imagination to see that actually we are headed into the Matrix willingly. Like,
that's it. And it's just, you just got to choose how you want to live your life, and I don't want to be part of that at all. A lot of people are walking into, because they're not thinking about it enough, and they're just walking headlong into it. And you know, it's worrying, really. I'm worried for my kids, you know. I'm trying to bring them up in a minority of people who, you know, when all the friends around them are all going down that route, trying to keep them, you know, grounded and into reality. Because a lot of the things that make us human, the differences between us, you know, with your race, your sex, your you know, your interests, your hobbies, what you're good at, what you're bad at, all these things are what make life interesting. That's what makes you have a healthy life, you know, when you're mixing with all these different people and you form social groups, and that's how it should be. And they're just removing that and saying you can be whoever you want to be. No, you can't. You're who you are, and that's who you should be. The minute you start thinking, I don't want to be this anymore, I want to be that, then straight away you're going to have problems. You're going to have mental problems once you detach yourself from reality into this virtual reality world that they want everybody to live in.
It would be weird, wouldn't it, if you spend the majority of your time in this virtual world looking a certain way, being able to do incredible things. Like, if you think of the movie Ready Player One, you know, if you're able to, you know, live in a universe where there are no limits and you can look however you want, you know, interact with the physics of the universe in whatever way, and travel and see things and do anything you want, what is the impression that you're going to get when you pull out of that and you look around at reality and you realize, oh yeah, I'm in a very small room with just a bed and, you know, nothing much else, because, you know, that's all I need as long as I'm in there. You're gonna get, you know,
we're being treated like we're robots, like we're computer programs, and humans aren't. And it becomes more and more evident with all the mental health issues that people are facing. And you've got, I mean, kids with depression. What's that about? Bloody 12-year-old kids with depression and talking about suicide in schools. They've got no business talking about that. When I was a kid, no one was like that. Not one kid, because we're out playing in the sunshine and dicking about with our friends and catching newts in the river and
climbing trees and
playing footy and
yeah,
you'd watch telly and play the odd computer game and stuff, but you'd mix with people. And it's because it's an unhealthy environment to live in. This kind of, we're not computer programs. You can't treat us like that. Like it's the same with this old COVID modeling the way it's going to spread and all that. Well, we're not a computer program. That's why a lot of the measures haven't worked and won't work, because we're not a computer program. You can't put the figures into a computer and plan it out like that.
Yeah.
We're humans, and our brains need stimulation. They need creativity. They need a sense of achievement. You have to work for something, achieve it, and that'll give you confidence and resilience and pride in the need to be alive, and valuing being alive. Whereas if you're just sat there and you just press,
it gives you meaning and responsibility, doesn't it? It gives your life meaning, and I think a lot of people don't have that, and that's why a lot of people look to people like Jordan Peterson, who produces books like 12 Rules for Life and Maps for Meaning and 12 Rules More and stuff like that, and internationally becomes almost this messiah figure for a lot of people who, up until they came across his work, have just been completely lost.
But a lot of the stuff that he says is
old stuff, isn't it?
It's standard. It's common sense.
Yeah.
It might be dressed up in flowery
evolutionary
psychobabble, in like psychologists speak. But in reality, it's if you kind of condense it down and decode it, it's just common sense.
Yeah, intrinsic knowledge that has always been with us for about 10,000 years.
But people forget as they get older and they get more into the IT and more into, because you start off using it. Oh, you send an email because it's quick. You don't have to post it. Oh, that's helpful. Yeah, that's fine. And then before you know it, you're sending a video, and then you're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And before you know it, there's no need to ever see each other again.
Yeah.
And that's unhealthy, and where does that end? But there has to be, you have to know your limit. It's kind of like gambling or any addiction, alcoholism. It's knowing it's like an illness.
It's almost like you remember Jurassic Park and Jeff Goldblum's character. He said, the scientists, they were so quick to do something, but just because they could, they didn't think whether they should. And I think not enough businesses and enterprises and innovators actually are thinking whether they should invent a certain thing or put it out on the market. All they're thinking is, brilliant, let's do this, next innovation, ding, let's go. And they're not really sitting back and thinking about what the effect will be on the public. And the evidence for that is in that Netflix show, The Social Dilemma. The guy who wrote the algorithm for the YouTube search, which picks up on what it is that you're typing in, what you're watching, what you're liking, spending your time looking at, he never intended for it to create these echo chambers and these rabbit holes that you go down. The algorithm's too good at sort of predicting what you'll like, and then you get sucked in, and then you might look at like something to do with history, and then all of a sudden you've got a piece of information about flat Earth, and then all of a sudden you're watching David Icke videos, and you're going down this rabbit hole. And it's these things are dangerous. They affect people, and whatever like any machine, like a car, like a computer, whatever you put in, if you're going to put crap in, you're going to get crap out. You need to have a look at stoicism and read a book, as well as have a look at YouTube and looking at the the internet forums and Reddit and stuff like that. Get some knowledge from other sources.
They're
out there.
But I think a big thing is that just the work, that achieving something humans. Technology is kind of, most of it is to make things easier, and in certain circumstances that's a bonus, it's an advantage. But I think now we live in a world where everything's so easy that nothing is worth, nobody's working and achieving anything, any self-worth. So people need to put in a reasonable amount of effort to get a reasonable reward at the end of it, and nobody's got it. Everybody's putting minimal effort in getting maximum reward, and it's not healthy.
Yeah,
way to live your life. Your brain will start to eat itself away, because you will get depressed, and you will wonder where your place is in this world, and you'll gradually, and then all it takes then is the littlest crisis in your life, like a family member dying or something like that, and then suddenly you're out of it then, and then suddenly they won't be asking how did this happen, they'll be just giving you pills and making a bit of that off you at that point. And that's what everybody's doing. They're not, the vast majority, well, a large proportion of the depression and anxiety and stress and things that people experience today, the vast majority is manageable and without any pills whatsoever. There are certain, serious psychological things that need medication just to make you less of a risk to the public or whatever.
Yeah.
But most people are depressed because of these issues that we've been talking about. It's a culmination of time.
Because of the environment that they live in, or the way that society's set up, or the way there's loads of different reasons as to.
Well, they'll say, "Oh, I feel worthless. I feel worthless. Or, I just want to end it." Why do you feel worthless? You can't answer that by saying, "I'll tell you what. Here, have some pills," and then they have some pills, and most of them don't work anyway. It's a placebo effect, but they have them, and then suddenly they feel a bit better. So they think that's the solution. So they just keep popping the pills, keep popping. That's not solving the problem. The reason you feel so down is because of all these issues, because you haven't achieved what you need, you're disillusioned with life in general, and it's because it's an unhealthy. We live in a very unhealthy Western world. A lot of people do. A
lot of traditionally what our parents or grandparents going back would have had to support them is a massive sense of community, and now that that doesn't exist anymore, really.
No,
especially with the closure of pubs, the less people go to church. There's less communal things for people to do. There's, it's kind of, where can you go now where you can go and meet people and make friends and hash it out?
Yeah. I mean, why do you think, like in the Native Americans, in over there, had such a beautiful outlook on life, and the way their communities worked? Everybody had a role and a purpose, and was valued in their role. And then everything's changed. Westerners come over, everything's changed. It's all technology and industry and blah blah blah, all building. Suddenly, the communities who were hardest hit with alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and suicide and all the rest are the Native Americans, and in the various areas of that country, because they've been brought up, to think a certain way, and suddenly they're so disillusioned because all of those values that were so important have just gone out the window. They haven't got any purpose anymore, and I mean, they're being fucked over by governments, and they've been poorly treated over the years. But it's an unhealthy way to live. Whereas, probably you go back like 200 years, there would have been very, very few depressed, suicidal people. And if you think of the standards they were living in, the actual living standards,
not as easy, not as good as ours.
We live
like kings now.
It'd be probably very rare to have had people with anxiety, depression, and all the rest of it. And when you think with what we've got today, we've got more than ever. It's not, you don't have to be a genius, to kind of put the two together. The faster technology grows and advances and changes everybody's lives, the more these problems are going to rise as well. And it's a bit worrying, really, I think, for me.
I wonder what is the solution for that, and are people waking up to a different way of living? Like if because of the pandemic. Have you heard of it's the great job migration? You know, people have had this time at home to kind of realize maybe their life, their job is not all it's cracked up to be, and they want to change and they want to do more. So millions of people around the world are in a massive shift right now.
All right. No, I didn't. I don't think. I think most people are just blindly going along with the way with life. I think commercialism has just taken over the world, so their lives revolve around getting the latest car or the latest computer and the latest phone, and that's how their life's structured. Getting an extension or whatever, or getting a new sofa, buying something else, and then they don't really think about the bigger picture. Most people, you know, and I don't think. I think some people will, but I think the majority of people will just go along blindly with it. But hopefully not. But
yeah, I think it's hard, isn't it? And people resist change because you get a certain level of comfort in your life, and you know, growth requires you to feel pain and become uncomfortable. Just like when you go to the gym, you know, it's all about those reps. Like if you want to get a better body, you're going to hurt yourself. And it's the same with you know, with learning. Learning is exhausting and it hurts. And thinking outside the box, you know, it's exhausting. It, you know, all of these things, they require effort, and if you're not willing to put that effort in the first place, you're never going to move forward.
Yeah. It's I think it's not good for the brain. I think the brain needs to be tested, and you know, I think all this technology and things just make it too easy for everybody to you know, like people now, especially the youngsters, probably think that like this conversation we're having now, they would say, oh yeah, it's almost like a meeting. It's not a meeting, we've not met. It's a telephone conversation with you at the other side of it. I've not met you. And there's such a massive difference between what we're doing now and actually meeting in person, because
generally whenever we meet, we always have a hug, you know, and then we'll have a brew or a beer, and you know, we'll be bantering. And
well, humans are social creatures, and I think it's unhealthy to remove that and say, oh, we don't need to be social anymore, let's just do it all online. It's not the way to go.
So yesterday was Thanksgiving in America, so I know how much you despise Americanisms, but come on, mate. what are you thankful for?
Thankful for? The boring stuff like that everybody would say. My kids. Thankful for all my family, and having the intelligence and the self-awareness to be able to look after my own kind of, I don't know, my own mental health and my own, you know, how I want to live my life, you know, and I've got my eyes open. So every day I'm going forward knowing, you know, some people don't have that awareness, that self-awareness to think about things. But I certainly do. I'm thankful, obviously, for my mates and stuff as well, obviously.
And what does the future hold for John Dawson?
I don't know. Take each day as it comes, and try and do a new challenge now and again. I haven't got any aims in the long distant future, because I've kind of found out, you know, like I'm not where I would have planned myself to be years back, you know. You've got to kind of adapt and just go with it, you know. You make plans and just try and live your life the right way, do right by others, and just ride the crazy wave.
Ride the roller coaster.
Yeah. So yeah, nothing, no major crazy goals or anything like that. Just plod along. Just
keep on trucking, everybody.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah. So dude, we did a good stretch there. So we'll call it an evening, and we'll just give me a second. All right. So
we have to say as well before we go, death to the French.
Yeah, definitely. Get out of here, Macron. What do you think you are? You know, come on, sort it out. Tighten your borders up, man. And you know, look after those people. You know, give them homes and jobs and food, and you know, don't just be, you know, putting people in a dinghy and, you know, saying au revoir, like all the best. The British will look after you. Well, you know, it's a treacherous journey, and I'd like to see you make it in a dinghy, mate. No good. No good. Where's that French hospitality? You know, come on, sort it out. Terrible. Yeah. Vive la France, my bum. Right, buddy. So I'll see you later, okay?
Yeah. See you later.
Like and subscribe.
We came, we saw, we kicked it.